Hello, hello, hello. It's actually tea. I'm sorry. I found that coffee doesn't work well with my medication. So, it's tea. I have to change it to tea time. I should have done some prep. Not like me to be unprepared. Anyway, YouTube. But it's not about YouTube. I was just kind of looking at YouTube last night, as you do. Where was I? It'd be under history, and we can talk about it. And I was watching. There's a web stream called Let's Talk It Over. I'll put a link. Once I figure out how to do this, I'll put a link into it, and it was posted. I guess I got it because it was posted on the Roger Waters YouTube channel. It's titled "Let's Talk It Over" number 9: Billionaires, Oligarchs, Polygarchs, and Their Victims. And I thought, okay, well, Roger Waters there. Wait a minute, there's Brian Eno. There's Father Brian Eno, and who's the other one? Let me just. There's loads of people there. Yanis Varoufakis, Frank Barat, Ichi Temukuran, Roger Waters, and Brian Eno. Let me just, I can show you it. He says, here they are. This is the Let's Talk It Over podcast. And they were talking about, like I say, the title of it was Billionaires, Oligarchs, Polygarchs, and Their Victims. And I thought, okay, let's give this a go. And it was about the Ukraine invasion by Russia. Right. But boy, it was very peculiar. It was very peculiar. How so? Because you didn't really see them kind of blaming Russia. Yeah, war's bad, they were saying. Yeah, war's bad. But the real thrust of their argument was, again, especially from Roger Waters. Brian Eno was kind of, I don't know, I think he wanted to sit on the fence. He had splinters in his arse. But we'll get to him in a minute. But Roger Waters and Yanis Varoufakis, Frank Barat was quiet. He's more the host, but it was those people. They seem to be of the conclusion that this war was all it's the West's fault. The West's fault. It's us what done it. Because they'd watched a little talk by, he says, pulling it up, John Mearsheimer. Again, I'll put a link to that as well. It gives you a brief history of the conflict and how we got here, and and everything. So yeah, it's the West being the West. It's our fault. It's all our fault. And Russia can't help it because they're Russia. It's Russia. It's Putin. He can't help himself. And of course, you've got to remember. There's a lot of history involved. Back from Second World War. After the Second World War, Russia, former Soviet Union, retreated back and claimed many countries as its territory and expanded itself. Even to parts of Germany. We had the German occupation by the Soviet superpower. And then when the Berlin Wall came down, these countries, these former Soviet countries, wanted their independence. Ukraine being one of them. Again, Ukraine is divided again. So I don't know if that was the doorbell. Against ethnic lines. Wait a minute, I think it was the doorbell. It was the doorbell, and I've got to go. Always the doorbell. Always the doorbell. It was the postman. I'll edit that out. So yeah, Ukraine is kind of a divided country as it was. Parts of it are Russian speaking, parts of it are Ukraine. Speak the Ukraine language. And so again, this is historical. How do you divide up Ukraine? However, as time's gone on, the western part of Ukraine has turned towards the west because its neighbouring countries have all become more Eurocentric. Now, I am somebody who voted to leave the EU because I didn't think it was necessarily a good thing for our country. However, I'm not going to object to other countries joining it. Now, this is the weird dualism that I saw on display, because again, very pro-EU, but very anti-Ukraine joining the EU. It's not for you. And their argument was, well, Ukraine cannot have any Western aspirations. To stop the war, Joe Biden has to fly in, meet up with Putin, and basically tell the Ukraine people to put up with the Russians on their doorstep, become a neutral country, and put away any aspirations of ever joining the EU or joining NATO, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Just for world peace. Now, again, the reason Zelensky's in power, again, back in the first conflict, it began in 2012 and 2014. Go and look. There's plenty of history out there for you to look it up. One of the reasons this all came up was because the Ukraine people took to the streets and demanded a breakaway from. They don't want to be, go back to Soviet times. That's how they see it. They want to become a progressive country and join things like the EU and NATO. But nowhere in this podcast did you hear anything mentioned about democracy. Roger Waters, no, he doesn't care what the Ukraine people want. He only wants, Russia to get their way. And again, you've got to remember that Roger Waters and Brian Eno and what's his name, the economist Varoufakis, have all appeared on Russia Today. They don't like it when they're accused of being useful idiots, and you really do get that impression. I was sat there aghast at these people. Again, left leaning, and again, Ichi Temukaran, which was very telling when she said about, was it the Ukraine people being presented as the new Jews? And I thought, whoa, wait a minute. And they talk about people, the power brokers, the money men. It's very, you know what this language is. You know what they're saying, But I sat there and I was aghast at this. These are supposedly clever people. Mind you, Roger Waters isn't particularly clever because he's a big, vocal Julian Assange supporter. Remember the man who managed to father 2 children in a broom cupboard at the Ecuadorian embassy whilst in self-exile. Who, whilst on rape charges, he just can't control himself. He's like a dog on heat. He was humping the furniture. That's what they wanted about the Ecuadorian embassy. And that's who Roger Waters puts his faith in. A man who manages to father 2 children with his legal advisor in an embassy under exile. I don't know about you, but I don't know if I'd be feeling particularly horny under self-imposed exile. But obviously, like I say, Assange is just one giant walking erection. But I'm sitting there aghast at this. That the Ukraine people should just know they should give up their hopes and aspirations for improving their country and take, I don't know, was it the $15 billion bribe that I think Putin originally offered them back in 2014, and have the Russians glaring at them for the rest of time, when really, it's Putin who needs to be deposed. It's the Russian people who need to rise up and push for proper democracy. But no, that's not mentioned by Eno, Waters and co. It's very much the West's fault for ever daring to, be a beacon of hope for those poorer countries in the East. And I was just, like I said, I was absolutely aghast at supposedly intelligent people who are willing to throw away liberty and democracy to Putin. and somehow it's the poor old EU and NATO's fault. Now, again, I don't think the EU. I've accused the EU of expansionism, but you've got to remember who Ukraine's neighbours are. All these other countries that they're bordering have all, I guess they've profited or done well out of joining the EU, or trying to join the EU, join NATO, etc. And they've seen, well, why can't we have a piece of that? And this is the thing: if, for example, if Roger Waters gets his way and Brian Eno gets his way, and they broker a peace deal, with the invading army. Remember, it's an invasion. It's an invasion of an autonomous country who has a democratically elected president by someone who isn't democratically elected. Putin always wins. Funny that. If they do give in to the demands of a tyrant, what's going to happen then? Well, the Ukraine people aren't going to take it. Year over year, resentment will build, and they'll be on the streets again, continually protesting the fact that they have a puppet government, and they will want a more Western lifestyle, more Western political system, and you can't deny them that. That's what democracy is. And I was shocked, like I said, absolutely disgusted with Roger Waters and Brian Eno, to actually even dare to think that the Ukraine people, who had been bombed out of existence by the Russians. Really, again, if Roger Waters is the great pacifist, he should be saying, well, the Russian soldiers need to lay down their arms and surrender, because they are the invading force. It's not the Ukrainians who are invading Russia. Again, they are useful idiots. They are obviously on the Russian payroll. They must be. Or they've just taken leave of their senses. They do not appreciate democracy and what the real people, want. Again, it's rich people. Rich white people telling the poor people what to do and what to think again. Again, just things don't make me angry, but I watched this and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing. The problem is the political landscape is shifting, and it will shift because progress. We are in the 21st century, and the one thing that I've got to get his name right because I'll probably say it wrong. John Mearsheimer was explaining in his talk, which is about 6 years old now, how we have a 21st century Politico, and Putin and the Chinese are still like kind of 19th century. So it's, and you go, yeah, but they're the people who need to adapt. We don't really want to go back to the 19th century, but somehow the West is wrong for being, progressive, and this is where you have, the left and the right fighting over the scraps of various ideologies, and that will end up failing on both sides. The bottom line of this, and it is innocent people, are dying for no reason and other than being Ukrainian and not wanting to bow to the Russians. And then, the left, and I'm pointing at Roger Waters because I think he's the one that brought it up. So, well, why didn't people go on the streets about Syria and Afghanistan? Well, a very different conflict. Syria is a civil war. Afghanistan, well, and they're drawn along religious lines rather than political lines. And when you try and get to, again, same thing, it mentions Israel as well and Palestine. Well, as soon as religion comes into debate, most people come just back away from it and go, whoa, religion, because you're onto a loser. You're never going to win that. Whereas, political wars that we're seeing with Russia, again, there's a bad guy invading a country. You know what I'm saying? And that's why people are behind this. And you see regular people, because again, if you understand Ukraine, it's a country that's it's modern. It's modern thinking. You're seeing people who 30 days ago had a life, and the next morning woke up on the run. And I think we can all identify with that. Where it's a bit harder to identify, what goes on in Syria and Afghanistan because it's done on religion. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? It's a lot more polarized, more binary, black and white. So I think that's why you don't see the outbreak. And there was also criticising people for wearing Ukrainian colours or taking the Ukraine flag. Yeah, it's a symbolic thing. It's not anything I'd necessarily do. I think flag waving is a bit daft. But it's what people. It's about solidarity. It's about saying that you're with someone. It's about sending your thoughts and your prayers. It's a symbolic gesture. But again, of course, Roger Waters would be happy if people were waving the Palestinian flag. So again, that's that hypocrisy that cuts through it. And I'm desperately trying to prove a point. But again, Eno was a big Europhile, but obviously, if he's in bed with Waters and Varakis believes that the EU's either too good. It's too good for the Ukraine. They've got to just be a neutral country just to preserve the stability of the region. You've basically got to give away your freedoms to preserve the stability of the region, rather than these people criticising what Putin's done. Because it's Putin's the one who's in the wrong. Yeah, it's Putin who again grabbed Crimea. Roger Waters is very much for that. But yeah, this is what happens when you let musicians who know a few chords start getting involved with politics. They know very little, and they have their own agendas. Nothing really mentioning the suffering of the people. Again, according to reports, again, these are unverified because it's a war at the moment and it could change. But some reports say that some Ukraine people are being, collected, put on buses, their documents destroyed, shipped off to remote, poor parts of Russia and dumped there because they want them out of Ukraine. Yeah, because they want to raise the place to the ground. Putin will destroy that country rather than losing. If he loses, he will destroy everything because he'll say, yeah. And then it'll be up to us, the Western world, the right-thinking people, to help them rebuild it. But saying that, I don't think Putin's future is guaranteed, and that would be very problematic for the likes of Roger Waters and Brian Eno. Again, Eno lived in Russia for a number of years, and yeah, we're not criticising the Russian soldiers per se, other than they could throw down their weapons and surrender. We're not condemning the Russian people because, yeah, they're Russians. That's the society that they're stuck with. But they could rise up, they could resist, they could start speaking the truth. The mobile phone, I haven't got my phone on me, I was going to wave it at the camera. The mobile phone is the great democratizer. It allows people to share information, share reality and propaganda instantly. And that's why Putin can't win. Not now. Can't win. But yeah, they came up with some really crazy theories about, the money men, it makes some money, because you know what they're alluding to. You know what Roger Waters is alluding to. I'm surprised he didn't, I'm not going to go there, but I'll let you fill in the blanks. But yeah, go and watch it, and go and watch the John Mearsheimer talk as well. I mean, it's a very simplistic view of what's going on, and it doesn't bring into the debate anything of what the Ukraine people want. They don't care about those people. It doesn't care about their lives, their idea of democracy, their freedoms. It's just a matter of, I mean, again, this is the thing, they talk about the status quo, but they want the Ukraine people to submit in order to maintain this status quo and to keep Putin and Russia in the same spot, rather than getting them to adapt, evolve, And the same goes, can go as far as China. I mean, I think China is, because it realises that money's good. They like money now, and that's a good thing. It's a shame that the Russians don't. This is why we're hitting with all the economic policies, because the people get fed up. They can't get their Starbucks and their McDonald's. So maybe that'll be enough to get a rope and hang Putin from a lamppost, which is the best outcome, because that's what all dictators deserve. That's the end of all dictators should aim for. But yeah, that was my thoughts on it. Go watch it. Maybe I'm wrong. I wish somebody could tell me I was. I wish I felt I was wrong on this, but I watch it and I know that they're wrong because they never once. Oh, they do a mealy mouth. Oh yeah, well it's terrible what's happening, but, and whenever there's a but, that's when you know the rest of their argument is bullshit. You know, made me very angry. Made me very angry. And these are the clever people. These are the clever people. Anyway, sorry about this. It went a bit political, didn't it? It went a bit political. So we see if there's anybody in the chat room. I doubt if there is, because you know, because it's a political one. Naz is in. Hey, Zeb's in. How's my day? It's the same as every other day. Naz says totally agree. Good. Jacob says you're right about Roger. He's totally losing it. Paige says, hey Darren, how you doing on this lovely morning? Yeah, I'm fine. You don't really want to know. I've got pains all down my left side. I really am turning into Marvin the paranoid android now. Many years ago, on some ice, Verity slipped, kicked me, and I fell over and I landed on my shoulder, and it's been giving me jip. I should really go to the doctors about it, but I'm hoping that one day it will just pop back into place and I'll be able to carry on. But other than that, I've just been talking about this thing, this whole Ukraine situation, and how it's all the West's fault. It's all the West's fault. You know, how dare we? You know, how dare we give the Ukraine people hope and a reason to aspire? Because, you know, they've got a choice. They can either look east or west, and they looked west. So they've done east. They've done that lifestyle. They didn't want it. You know, I can't believe I'm here. You know, I can't believe I'm doing this. As somebody who is supposedly left wing, I feel so adrift politically. You know, because obviously I don't agree with the right, and I certainly don't agree with a lot of the left these days, because they seem to be absolutely fucking drunk by various ideologues, and just can't understand the world is moving on. You know, politics is moving on. And also what they didn't bring in, and this is another important fact of, I think, why people are really behind this and are really supporting the Ukraine people, is we've just spent 2 years in lockdown. We've had 2 years of bullshit, right? And then Putin goes, hey, here's some more bullshit. Do you want a nuclear war? And we've all gone, no, fuck that. Fuck Putin, you know? And I think, you know, if the rules were different, if the world was different, I think people would be taking up arms and invading Russia and like I say, shooting Putin. Rooting Putin, let's shoot that Putin. You know, I think people are very angry about this because of the last 2 years of lockdown and what's gone on. Meanwhile, these rock stars have had it. They're all right. Their lifestyle doesn't really change much, does it really? Because they're still rich. They've got all the choices that they can make. Money gives you choice. But when you see, you know, poor Ukrainian children just clutching the few toys that they can carry, you know, rock up, you know, on these shores, I'll bang their fucking heads together. I really would. But there we go. Padge says, what's your thoughts on North Korea? It's another dictatorship. What do you want me to say? It will gradually starve his people into submission. The thing is the great thing about North Korea is the people are so starved and are so weak, they don't have the energy to rise up, so they never will. And that's it. It's a big old country as well, isn't it? So, you know, that's just going to happen. Again, it's a lot of very small men feeling irrelevant, and so they stamp their feet and set off hypersonic missiles, and it's all rather bizarre. And again, I think the world has changed somewhat, you know. Again, I'm not a fan of the EU, but I can see why some countries would want to join it, because it gives them the option, especially, you know, being under, you know, in the thrall of the Soviet era. You think, well, we've done that way. Let's try this way. You know, you can understand why, you know, and if that doesn't work, you know, suck it and see, isn't it? Really. So I can't abide these people. I really can't. They should be taken. Roger Waters and Brian Eno and Varakis and the lady whose name I can't remember, can't pronounce, they should be taken to the streets of Kiev and taken to the morgue and shown the bodies of the women and the children and the men who fought, and they should be made to stare into their dead faces and then justify their opinions. You know, sometimes you got to fight. You know, sometimes you got to fight for things, and you know, when small men have big weapons, they're the dangerous people. They are the dangerous ones, and that's what we're seeing with Putin. You know, again, I don't necessarily agree with the NATO moving, was it, eastwards, but you can see why these countries would want it. You know, and it's up to the people. It's always up to the people. It's what the people want. Do the people want war? No. Do the people want better lives? Yes. But Putin can't provide it. And that's that. What do I think about a no-fly zone? Well, you're going to need a really big flypaper or a giant aerosol fly killer. Do they make raids that big? I don't know. And Nazi's going to turn 50. Woohoo! Congratulations. You've reached level 50. It's downhill from here, you know. It all starts dropping off. It all starts falling off. Trust me. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm sure only a few people will see this. But Roger, if you're out there, come at me, son. Come at me. Eno, come at me. I'm very disappointed in you, Eno. But then, you know, come on, you're under Corbyn's thrall, aren't you? And he was anti-EU. But you're pro-EU, but the Ukraine people can't have it. That doesn't make any sense. You're contradicting yourself, son. You see, this is it. Ask the most important thing Roger Waters and Brian Eno should be asking is, what do the Ukraine people want? They want peace and they want a better way of life. But you ain't going to get that from Putin. So there you go. But yeah, Waters and Eno is Putin's useful idiots. They're obviously in the pay of a rich oligarch. Oh, those oligarchs are bad. Backhander. Come at me. They won't see this. No one will see this because this is YouTube. But thanks for faithful. Thanks for watching. It really annoyed me. It really made me angry that these people could be so dumb. That's it. Thanks for watching.